The Arc of Bergen and Passaic Counties Prevention and Detection of Waste, Fraud, and Abuse Compliance Program Employee Handbook Addendum Training, June 1st, 2021. The Arc of Bergen and Passaic Counties is committed to establishing and maintaining a culture that promotes quality services, efficient services, and high standards of ethical and business conduct. The Arc of Bergen and Passaic Counties is committed to the prevention, detection, and resolution of any conduct that does not conform to the Arc's standards and policies, applicable law, and program or payer requirements. The ARC's prevention and detection of waste, fraud, and abuse compliance program includes 1. Policies and practices to prevent waste, fraud, and abuse, such as how to correctly document and bill for services, how to double-check documentation and billing, what to do if an error or omission is discovered. 2. Reporting information such as how and where to report suspected waste, fraud, and abuse, anonymous reporting, protection for staff who report. 3. Policies and practices for investigating reports of waste, fraud, and abuse. 4. The laws that govern waste, fraud, and abuse. Definitions. 1. Abuse. This kind of abuse is different from abuse neglect, which involves harm to a consumer. The word abuse in this case means any activity by anyone, including the person receiving services, that is inconsistent with sound fiscal, business, or service practices, which results in unnecessary costs or in reimbursement of services that are not necessary or that fail to meet professionally recognized standards for the program or service. 2. Complainants, the person who makes the complaint, the plaintiff. 3. Fraud means an intentional deception or misrepresentation made by a person with the knowledge that the deception could result in some unauthorized benefit to himself or herself or some other person. 4. Knowing or knowingly means that the person acts in deliberate ignorance of the truth or falsity of the information, or acts in reckless disregard of the truth or falsity of the information. Definitions. 5. Payor, a funding source. The payor is who pays the money. The payee is who gets the money. The patient is the person whose bill is being paid. 6. Retaliation, revenge, getting back at the person who reported the problem. 7. Waste means activities involved in payment or the attempt to obtain reimbursement for items or services where there was no intent to deceive or misrepresent, but the outcome of poor or inefficient claiming or an inappropriate service plan causes unnecessary costs. Waste includes any action or inaction that does not rise to the level of fraud or abuse, but results in overpayments or misspent funds. The ARC personnel responsibilities are to prevent waste, fraud, and abuse by 1. Complying with the compliance program and all related policies. 2. Complying with and performing their services consistent with high ethical and professional standards. 3. Complying with the ARC's Code of Ethics. 4. Complying with applicable laws and regulations. 5. Implementing compliance responsibilities as are appropriate to the employee's position and duties. If the ARC personnel have any questions, before engaging in actions or transactions, or if the ARC personnel have any questions concerning whether the actions or transaction complies with applicable laws, regulations, program requirements, or the ARC's policies, they can ask their supervisor, or they can ask the appropriate member of the compliance team. The ARC compliance team can be reached at 201-343-0322. The compliance officer is Maureen Toth, at extension 2234. The President and CEO or his or her representative is Kathy Walsh, at extension 2239. The Chief Financial Officer or Controller is Kathy Pescatore, at extension 2226. Senior Vice President for Program and Services is Alice Siegel, at extension 2248. Director of Quality Assurance and Compliance is Dale Sakurai, at extension 2229. Director of Human Services is Maureen Toth, at extension 2234. Other ARC personnel may be appointed as appropriate. The ARC personnel shall not engage in false, fraudulent, improper, or questionable billing practices. Examples of fraud, waste, and abuse: 1. Bill for services not provided. 2. Bill for services not provided in the manner or time billed. 3. Bill for services for a different length of time than the services were actually provided. 4. Bill as if services rendered on one day were rendered on different days. 5. Bill for more than one service provided at the same time. 6. Bill more than once for the same service. 7. Bill separately for services that legitimately should be one billing. 8. Bill for duplicate payments from duplicate payors for the same service. 9. Bill for individuals not actually served. 10. Bill for dates individuals were absent. 11. Bill for services or items not properly authorized. 12. Bill for services provided by personnel without the proper credentials to provide that service. 13. Bill for services without required documentation to support the claim. 14. Bill for unnecessary services. 15. Providing unnecessary services just to be able to bill for them. 16. Misrepresent the services rendered, the amounts charged, the identity of the person receiving the service, or the identity of the person actually providing the service. 17. Inaccurately documenting services provided. 18. Improperly altering documentation. 19. Falsifying cost reports or claims. 20. Using a billing code that provides a higher payment rate than the correct billing code. For example, upcoding. 21. Taking any actions that are false or violation of applicable laws or regulations. The ARC personnel shall not engage in false, fraudulent, improper, or questionable data in the electronic health record. Examples: 1. The incorrect service was provided. 2. To the incorrect individual. 3. On the incorrect date. 4. For the incorrect amount of time, duration. 5. By personnel without the credentials to provide the service. Referrals. The ARC personnel shall not offer, solicit, pay, or accept anything of value in exchange for referrals. This applies to any such transactions involving potential referral sources, including transactions with other providers, service coordinators, vendors, or service recipients. This applies to offering or receiving any money, gifts, free or discounted items or services, professional courtesies, or other arrangements with the intent to induce referrals. Reporting. The ARC personnel are required to immediately report: 1. All suspected waste, fraud, or abuse. 2. Violations of the compliance program, laws, regulations. 3. Third-party payor Medicaid requirements. 4. Compliance concerns. Report to: 1. Supervisor. 2. A member of the compliance team. 3. The compliance officer. If the person making the report has reason to believe that their legitimate concerns are not being addressed, they can bring their concerns directly to another member of the compliance team or to the compliance officer. The person receiving the report shall immediately notify the compliance officer. The report must be made as soon as reasonably possible to ensure that the ARC complies with appropriate deadlines for responding to suspected compliance concerns. Reporting anonymously. 1. Personnel who wish to remain anonymous may put their report into the Human Resources mailbox at 223 Moore Street, Hackensack, addressed to the compliance officer, personal and confidential. 2. Personnel who wish to remain anonymous may mail the report through postal mail, addressed to the compliance officer, care of Human Resources, personal and confidential, at the Arc of Bergen-Passaic Counties, 223 Moore Street, Hackensack, New Jersey, 07601. 3. Personnel who wish to remain anonymous may email the report to compliance@arcbp.com. Personnel who wish to remain anonymous may leave a message on the compliance officer's voicemail, 201-343-0322, extension 2234. Report to the New Jersey Medicaid Fraud Division. Hotline number 1-888-937-2835. Online report at nj.gov/controller/about/work/Medicaid/complaint. Email njmedicaidfraud@omig.state.nj.us. Report to New Jersey Insurance Fraud Prosecutor. Hotline 1-877-553-7283. Online report www.nj.gov/oag/insurance fraud. Violations. Violation of the compliance program and its associated policies and procedures, or of any law, regulation, or third-party payor requirement shall be grounds for employee discipline, up to and including separation from employment. Violators may also be subject to fines and other penalties as specified in the compliance program and relevant federal and state statutes. The failure to report a suspected violation may subject the ARC personnel to appropriate discipline or corrective action as the circumstances warrant and consistent with applicable standards and processes. Whistleblower. The ARC prohibits any retaliatory action against any employee who discloses or threatens to disclose an activity, policy, or practice of the ARC which the employee reasonably believes is in violation of the law or a rule or regulation issued under the law. The ARC prohibits any retaliatory action against any employee who provides information or testimony to any assigned investigator or public body conducting an investigation or hearing into the violation of the law, rule, regulation issued under the law. The ARC prohibits any retaliatory action against any employee who provides information regarding any perceived criminal or fraudulent activity, policy, or practice which the employee reasonably believes may defraud a client, customer, employee, former employee, retiree, or pensioner of the ARC. The ARC prohibits any retaliatory action against any employee who objects to or refuses to participate in an activity, policy, or practice which the employee reasonably believes it to be in violation of the law, rule, or regulation issued under the law, or is fraudulent, criminal, or is incompatible with a clear mandate of public policy concerning public health, safety, or welfare of the environment. Protection against retaliation. When a disclosure of waste, fraud, or abuse is made to a public body, protection against retaliation does not apply unless 1. The employee has brought the activity, policy, or practice to the attention of the ARC by written notice and has given the ARC a reasonable opportunity to correct the activity, policy, or practice. 2. The employee reasonably believes the activity, policy, or practice is known to one or more supervisors. 3. The employee fears physical harm as a result of the disclosure, provided that the situation is of an emergency in nature, and accept that an employee may report directly to the Medicaid Fraud Division or the Insurance Fraud Prosecutor. Retaliation. Any employee who believes he or she has been subject to retaliatory action for exercising their rights under the law may file a written complaint to the Compliance Officer, Director of Human Resources, or, if the Compliance Officer is implicated, to the President, CEO, or, in his or her absence, the Senior Vice President within 90 days of the incident. Violations. Any of the following federal or state statutes could mean a monetary fine and/or imprisonment. Please refer to your compliance program packet for the details of each law. The following are federal statutes to prevent waste, fraud, and abuse. 1. Federal False Claims Act. 2. Federal Program Fraud Civil Remedies Act. 3. Deficit Reduction Act of 2005. The following are New Jersey state statutes to prevent waste, fraud, and abuse. 1. The New Jersey Medical Assistance and Health Service Act. 2. New Jersey Medical Assistance and Health Services Act Civil Remedies. 3. New Jersey Consumer Fraud Act. 4. Conscientious Employee Protection Act, Whistleblower Act. 5. New Jersey False Claims Act. 6. New Jersey Insurance Fraud Prevention Act. 7. Healthcare Claims Fraud Act. 8. The Uniform Enforcement Act.